Hello, boys and girls. I'm so glad you joined me. Today, we're starting a new unit looking at God's promises through the story of Joshua. Our story begins with a group of people called the Israelites. These were God's chosen people, and God had rescued them from slavery and was leading them to their new home, the Promised Land. God used a man named Moses to lead his people. God's people walked and walked and walked for a long time until they came to the new land that God had promised them. They didn't know much about the land, who lived there, or what kind of food they had. So Moses sent 12 spies to find out everything they could about the new land. The spies snuck around to see what the land was like. After they had all the information, they went back to Moses and all the people to tell them about the food that grew there, but also how dangerous it was. The people were so big, they looked like giants, and the walls around the city were very high. All of this made 10 of the spies very scared. 2 of the spies, named Joshua and Caleb, were not afraid because they trusted God. The people were afraid because of what the spies had told them about the Promised Land. They knew that they weren't strong enough to go into the Promised Land, but they had forgotten something very important. They forgot God's promise of strength. God had already helped the people as they traveled in the wilderness. God promised to give them strength to do what He asked them to do. Moses, Joshua, and Caleb trusted God and His promises. They knew He could bring them into the Promised Land and protect them. They saw the good in the land and weren't frozen in fear. God was angry with the people's lack of trust in Him, but He wasn't angry with Joshua and Caleb. He punished all the people and said they couldn't go into the Promised Land because of their lack of trust. But He blessed Joshua and Caleb by allowing them to eventually go into the Promised Land. That story comes later. God is bigger than any problem we could have. He promises to give us strength and protect us. We just have to trust Him and His ways. Can you show me your prayer hand? We're going to pray and ask God to help us trust Him. Dear God, we just come before You, and we are just so thankful that You are a God that keeps promises, and that whatever You say You will do, You do, and that we can trust in You always in the plans that You have for us. We love You, God, and we thank You for today. Amen. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week.